First time on my live, um, and don't know who I am. I go by Zabo 103. I'm the dude that get on these live platforms and information that you would normally pay for. If I know it, you're getting it for free. It's really that simple. For all the newbies that are on here, and again, it's your first time being on here. The only thing I ask of you is keep an open mind. You might learn something. It just is what it is. All the platforms that are up currently right now, we got YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Riff, Rumble, whatever platform you're joining on. Much love to you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know yesterday I was supposed to, when I got back home yesterday evening, I was gonna try to pop back on, but I was a little bit tired, so I said I'm gonna go on and get a little rest today. So we on here today, y'all. And we gonna finish up. Well, not finish up. We're gonna continue what we've been talking about the last couple of days. We talk a lot about how do you, not just how do you get out of your rat race, but how you put yourself in a position to go from spending all your time working to spending all your time with the people that you say you care about and love the most. So we talked about what do you do to start that process. I know on today is Friday, so that would have been on Tuesday. Yeah, on Tuesday, we talked about, hey, how do I start doing this stuff for my job? And we talked about getting your mindset in the right place. Because once you have your mind in the right place, this stuff is not that complicated, y'all. It's not that deep. It's really, really a simple process once you have your mind right. So we talked a little bit about what you do when you're at your job, how to overcome some of those fears before you have to take those steps. Then we talked about on Wednesday how you're about to take that step. There are a couple of things that you definitely need to be aware of, right? And those are things like fear ain't real, right? Number two, we talked about operating your gift. Whatever your gift is actually going to make room for the things that you want to do. And is your gift solving other people problems? If your gift is not solving other people problems, then you're going to have to figure out either one, how can it solve somebody else's problem? If it's not, figure out something else you can do to solve people problems. The only way you're going to be blessed in any given situation if you're going to actually serve other people, period. So today, what I want to talk about, we're still in that position right now where we're still at the job, we're still working, but your mindset is almost there for you to take that step so you can get out of your rat race. What are some things that you need to be real about when it comes to not only just getting out of your rat race and spending all your time on a job, but spending the time with the people that you care about and love the most. You got to be real about your situation. You have to be a 100% real about your situation. What do I mean by that? You got to look at what it is that you are doing every single month and what is that costing you. I'm going to say that again. You got to figure out what it is that you're doing every single month and what is it costing you. Let me give you some examples. If you are a person that likes to have a drinky drink all the time, you are a person that want to take a couple more than a few times a month, how much is that stuff costing you? And not just from a monetary perspective, because that's a part of it, right? But how much time are you spending doing that? You get it? How much time are you spending doing these different things? The reason why that's important is because the amount of time that you're spending doing these things, it could very well be the time that you're spending thinking, the time that you're researching things, or even the time that you're taking action. Also, health. Health is a major, 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 major topic on where we're going to go, because everybody understand that we're not on this planet forever. Everybody understands that. But what people don't really understand is the healthier you are, not just the wealthier you become, the clearer your mind. The more healthy you are, the better you think. All the pollution that you put in your body prevents you from thinking. I don't think people really understand that. It's funny. Um, Shout out to D. Gregory, RIP to him, by the way. He was having a conversation um, and about health and fasting and all these different things. And one of the things that he said is that people always ask when you're trying to do the right thing, right, and you're trying to become healthy, right? They always ask, "Well, what did your doctor say? Did you consult your doctor?" But when they do all these bad things, when they do all these bad things, put all these bad things in a system, they never consult the doctor. They never ask that question. Why is that? Because people want to do what they want to do on their own terms. And that's okay. You can. But you also got to live with the results. It just is what it is. What's up, family? So you want to ask yourself these questions. What are these things that you're doing and how much is it costing you? Once you come up with how much it's costing you, these are going to become your new targets. If you are a person that's trying to get out of your rat race, I'm always going to tell you shoot for the moon. It just is what it is. But let's give an example. Let's say your lifestyle every single month is costing you $2,000 a month. And I'm throwing random numbers out. I don't know if that's somebody's lifestyle or not, but if it's costing you $2,000 a month, when you look at your lifestyle, it's costing you $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year. That's just what it is. When you put a number target out there, again, you want it to be big as possible, because even the big number that you put out is still not going to be big enough. You're still going to be thinking too small. But the number that you put out there that you got to hit every single month, it's going to look like a massive number to you in the beginning. And that's okay. So if your monthly expense that you're spending, your lifestyle, is costing you $2,000 a month, you got to figure out how to get that target to $24,000 a month. It just is what it is. The reason why you got to figure that out is because every month you want to give yourself a year's worth of living expenses. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And we're going to dive into a little bit more of this. I'm just laying some foundation right now. You're just looking at your monthly living expenses and you're multiplying times 12. Hopefully you got that. All right. Once you've done that, then you want to obviously back into what it is you're going to provide for the masses, because that's what's important. You're going to look at what are you going to provide to your consumer, whoever that is, and how whatever you're going to provide is going to solve their problem and back into your number. Now, I know for a lot of people that are already in business, this stuff is probably so basic it don't even make sense. But the reality of it is, for the people that ain't even took their first step, you knew as a business owner how hard it was for you to just say, I got to take this first step. You probably did this process, or you probably didn't. But these are things that are going to help you feel secure when you leave this illusion of a secure paycheck. Because the reality of it is, if your monthly living expenses that you have, if you're able to get 12 months worth of living expenses every single month from the money that you're generating, I think you'll be a little comfortable. You can figure something out within a year. And if you do it more than once, you got yourself 2 years of living expenses. Hopefully you're catching what I'm saying. So let me keep going. The next thing you want to understand is anything outside of food, water, shelter, and clothes on your back, you don't need. You just want it. Why am I saying it that way? It's because when you get to the point of hitting your 12 months worth of living expenses every single month, you don't want to increase those bills that you have because you're only going to put yourself in the same position. Most people, what happens is when they make more money, they create more bills. And then they can't figure out how, when I was making $40,000, $50,000 a year, and now I'm making $100,000 a year, how am I in the same position living paycheck to paycheck? It's because you got that extra money and you created more bills. The money's not yours. You have to be very intentional on who you're giving the money to. Meaning, the money that you're holding for somebody else, you got to be deliberate on who that somebody else is. If you keep making that somebody else another bill, you're going to stay in the same position. That's just the truth. You heard that, right? I bet. You're going to be in the same position. This is where you're going to have to become super disciplined. I was told when I was a kid, anyone no family member, it was just I don't want to say the word OG because that's not really it. It's more of an older guy. He wasn't that much older than me. He probably was like maybe 10 years older than me. I guess that's older than me, right? And one of the things he used to look out for me, right? And he will always say, he would, I'm trying to say this the right way so I don't get um I don't get into any trouble on none of these social media platforms. But he would say, all right, let me say it this way. He would say it takes a person 3 times to have money before they keep it. And I would be like, what do you mean? Like, when I say have money, you got to have a certain amount of money, money you've never had before, right? It take you 3 times before you keep it. He's like, the first time you're just gonna blow it. That's everybody. It's gonna happen. The second time you get it, you're gonna try to be a little bit better, but you're gonna be then spent it so fast you ain't gonna know where it went. The third time you get that money, you're gonna understand what to do. And I always tell him, I don't know if that's necessarily true. It might be, but I don't know. And then I started looking over my lifetime, looking back years later of me coming into some money and realizing that it actually happened to me that way. And I'm sure it's happened to you. It's a scary thought. So if you haven't had money before and it's going to be your first time getting money, you're going to have to be even more disciplined. That's just the truth. Because you're going to be itching to go out and get some stuff. So it doesn't include credit card debts, only bills such as mortgage, utility, food, etc. That is correct. With your credit card debts, because again, I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just telling y'all that my process that I had to go through, and hopefully you can relate to it, right? With credit cards and stuff like that, if it's debt that's in collections, then obviously you want to go down that path of getting your credit straight, right? So we talked about using LexisNexis from a credit perspective, right? And freezing your clue report in your personal file and disputing that stuff off your credit. It's free, so it's not something too overcomplicated that you have to do, right? So the other portion of that is obviously when you're making money, pay your credit cards off. If you're paying them and you still got them, you're in good standings, pay them, right? And when I say pay them off, I mean you might make the minimum payments on some of them just to keep them going, but the bulk of your payment, right? You are putting most of your money on it, doing what they call a snowball effect to pay off your credit card debts. You can do that too, whatever it takes, all right? But think of it this way: if your monthly expenses is 2 grand a month and you're generating $24,000 a month, one of the first things you're gonna do is pay off your debts. It just is what it is. So when I say don't create no more bills, what I mean is, of course, don't go out there and create more bills by going shopping using your credit card more. Because again, you're trying to put yourself in a position to where you can no longer have bills. You get it? That's really the key. You're trying to get away from having bills because this is what's going to allow you to spend more time with the people that you care about and love the most, because you ain't got to worry about, I got to put this roof over their head. I got to make sure it's food on the table. I got to make sure it's this, because you're putting a system in place to where those things will always be covered. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was at Bank of America, and I always share this with folks, and I always have to say everything when I say when I was at Bank of America, because I want people to understand that I'm not an anomaly, right? So when I was at Bank of America for 20 years as an executive without a college degree, making a couple $100 grand a year, y'all, bills were through the roof. Just because I made a couple $100 grand a year, it didn't stop the bills from coming in. It didn't stop it didn't stop me from going out doing the thing that everybody do. Going to spend more money here, going to get a bigger car payment. It didn't stop that, y'all. It actually made me go do it when I was making, a little money at the bank. It wasn't till I got my mind right and doing this process that I'm sharing with y'all today to where I realized I didn't need those things. Those were things that I wanted. And then when I started realizing that money wasn't real, that's when it really clicked for me and became really scary. Then when I realized you have to operate in public and in private only, that's when the light bulb like, wow, this is unreal. I went from having a bunch of bills, making a couple $100 grand a year, right? To not having no bills, making my yearly salary in a month. It made me realize something that I probably should have realized way before I came into what they call middle class, rich. It made me realize something crazy. It made me realize that when I was poor, I was in the perfect position to receive the knowledge that I had, right? Or I gathered, but I also was in the perfect position to get to this place called wealth way faster than I was when I was in this middle class or rich. Because when I was poor, I didn't have that many bills. When I got into the middle class, I had a lot more bills. When I got to be rich, I had a ton of freaking bills. Now going into this path of wealth, I ain't got no bills. What does that mean to the average person that don't have a clue about not having bills? What does that mean? It means that personally, you have to put yourself in a position the same way this country has put you in a position, and they're in themselves. America's a business. The United States of America is a business, a corporation. We all know this. They operate in public. Hope y'all caught that. On the back of your money, that's the little wording that says, "In God we trust." I was told that's the name of America's trust. That trust is private. So America's public, the trust is private. They're operating in public and private. If you flip your money around to where the Fed is at on your currency, it tells you this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. It says nothing about personal on there at all. And I know people are going to go down this path and talk about all these little secret things that are on the money. I get all of that, y'all. But let's not overlook what's in your face. Something you ain't really got to look for. It's there. Ask yourself, why is there stuff on your money? They're telling you to operate in public and in private. Imagine you operating in public and private and your life getting easier because now you're just becoming a law-abiding citizen. You're going to follow the law because that's just what it is. But by you operating in public and in private, now the law is going to have way more benefits to you. What does that mean? When I go and I look at how many bills I used to have versus me not having bills right now, I owe it all to operating in public and in private. When I go out and I go shop, for whatever reason, I go buy something, I use money for anything, I'm using it for all debts, public and private. So if it's public, it's going in my business. If it's private, it's going in my trust. I hope y'all caught that because I don't know how to make that clear than what I just did. So when you have but become real with yourself and made the decision of, hey, these are my targets. These are the things that I gotta accomplish. These are the things that I have to do. The last piece of that pie, before you start taking on this journey, you gotta start providing unconditional love to the people that you care about and love the most. Why am I saying you got to provide unconditional love? Because when you're taking this journey, you're going to make a huge sacrifice because it's no longer about you. It ain't about you no more, people. It's about your bloodline. The decision that you're going to make today is going to be for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years down the line. You're not going to benefit from these things, y'all, and you have to be okay with it. You have to find joy into building your last name. That's just what it is. People ask me all the time about, man, you got a beautiful wife. And you know how this world is. They do the man versus woman thing all day long. every day of the week. I think it's comical, but people do it all day. What if your wife decide to leave you? Well, let's ask some questions. Nobody's perfect, right? But let's just ask some questions. And right now, I'm kind of talking to the fellas a little bit. So, ladies, bear with me. But, ladies, y'all can answer this question for me. Y'all can answer it. I could be wrong. Fellas, if you can solve two things in your life, I believe wholeheartedly that you will never have to worry about your significant other ever leaving you. And when I say significant other, I'm saying sign if I can't. If you do these two things, and I'm not no expert on relationships, I'm not no guru on it. Everybody relationship is not perfect, right? Nobody is. But I believe it's just me, fellas, because it's about unconditional love and doing your part. If you can create a life of stability for your significant other, that's one, right? And you can be faithful, most women ain't leaving that. Most ain't. I'm gonna say that again. If you can create a life of stability for your significant other and you're faithful, most women ain't leaving that. Now, ladies, I know a lot of ladies gonna jump on the bandwagon and agree to all this stuff, but let me give a little bit more perspective. If I'm fighting for my last name and not my first, my significant other got to be fighting for her last name and not her first. That means our last name got to be the same. She can't have a different last name from me and me saying I want us to fight for our last name and not our first because her last name is different from mine. I really want y'all to put this in perspective. Creating a life of stability for a woman is what? I don't know, fellas. Y'all can help me out. I don't know. I'm just throwing some stuff against the wall. I'm not a woman, right? But I gotta imagine if she's able to do everything she was doing before she met you, and she wasn't stressing about the light bill, I think you could. Well, what happens when your wife, fellas, don't have bills? You don't have to be concerned about 50-50 because you ain't got no bills either. So if you and your significant other sign if I can't, ain't got no bills, there's nothing to go 50-50 on. You just go hard on everything. This is only my theory, y'all. I could be wrong. I'm not perfect. I'm not a guru. I ain't trying to preach to nobody because that's not what it is. I'm just telling you my theory. The only thing we got to focus on when it comes to money is just making more money. That's it. We only got to focus on making more money because we ain't got no bills. So that means if the wife decides that she wants to do certain things, she ain't really got to stress doing certain things. She just do it. If the wife want to take a vacation, she ain't got to beg for it. But just do it. Why? Because we ain't got no bills. Fellas, you know how peaceful your life becomes when you don't have no bills? That's when you're single, fellas. Do you know how peaceful your household become when you and your significant other ain't got no bills? I don't think you hear me. Let's get off of that for a second. Let's talk about this faithful thing because that's the big one, fellas, right? I understand that most men are gonna go on their journey and they gotta sow their wild oats. I guess. I get it. I'm a man too. And I'm one of those dudes that come from a place that a man is only faithful as his options. That's the place I come from. That's me being honest. A man is only as faithful as his options. And I can't make that up. So, ladies, don't be mad at me when I say that. But listen, the truth can never be considered disrespect. When you start fighting for your last name and not your first, you only have one option. The only option you have when you start fighting for your last name and not your first is your significant other sign if I can't. What makes a man stay faithful, right? When you're taking this journey is you understand that you taking 5 minutes of fun. What's up, family? You taking 5 minutes of fun can take away hundreds of years worth of wealth out of your bloodline mouth. I tell people this all the time. Through all my platforms that I'm on, I'm probably over 1 million followers. 95% of those people are women. You ain't ever gonna catch me sliding a DM because I'm not taking 5 minutes of fun to ruin 100 years worth of wealth out of my bloodline life. I'm just not doing it. When you start to realize what's more important, being faithful ain't a sacrifice, it's a joy. That's just the truth, y'all. I don't know a better or a clearer way to put that picture. What does that mean? Fellas, go get the woman that you want. Go get the person that you truly care about and like and want to be around. Don't go get somebody because they look a certain way. Don't go get somebody because it's gonna bring you some sort of status. That doesn't make sense. Go build that relationship and get the person you want. Grab somebody to pull on the dance floor with you, and when the song go off, y'all go sit down. It's just that simple, y'all. But all this notion of having 100 different women, you're never gonna be wealthy. It just ain't. Why? Because you're gonna continue to start over. You can't build this thing called generational wealth without a generation to leave it to. That's just the truth. You look at these people who you think you're calling wealthy, they're not wealthy, y'all. These are just the richest poor people you know. Every super wealthy person I didn't, maybe it's just me. Every super wealthy person that I didn't study from a man perspective, they all got wives. All of them. All of them. They all have wives. So, in my humble opinion, I started to realize if I can create a life of stability for my significant other, sign if I can't. And if I can be faithful, I think I'll be all right. I think I'm a handsome dude. I can be a little funny and comical at times. What did that mean to me? It means some of my some of the childish ways that I had growing up, I couldn't have no more because I wasn't a child anymore. A lot of the camaraderie that most men try to have when it comes to, hey, I gotta be around the bros all the time. I don't like men like that, y'all. I just don't. I don't like people like that. Plus, me hanging around my homeboys, being out in the club and the lounges, is only gonna enable these bad habits that I'm trying to get rid of. Me going on my homeboy's house watching the game is only going to enable these bad habits that I'm trying to get rid of. How does that benefit my sons, my daughters, my future, my grandkids, my great grandkids? How does that benefit anything? Men should want to be the king. And if you're around a whole bunch of men all the time that all want to be kings, only thing's gonna happen, fellas, is it's war. That's the truth. All right, we're gonna get up off of that. Mindset, y'all. Mindset. So after you done all these assessments of yourself and you didn't start putting these things in position, then it's time for you to start taking your journey. What do I mean by that? It's time to start putting your money where your mouth is. Your mouth where your money is. Whatever you want to call it, right? You're still at your job. All this stuff you're processing before you even start to get out there and take these steps. So while you're at your job, you've made these assessments of yourself. You know the things you got to do. You got your targets in place. Now it's time to actually do the walking, right? You have to realize that every time you get money in, the only purpose of money to wealthy people is to make money. The only purpose of money to poor people is to pay bills. There's a difference, y'all. So anytime you get your money in, you know your money's only going into three places. Three: basic living expenses, just basic living expenses, y'all. The biggest whole life insurance policy you can afford, and land. I'm gonna walk this back. You put your money into basic living expenses. Why? Because you gotta have a roof over your head. You gotta have food. Gotta have water. Gotta have clothes on your back. The basic things that you need to get by every single month, that's what you need to be doing. And before somebody say, no, you got to live a little bit, sometimes you got to treat yourself. Treat yourself for what? You can treat yourself over the weekend for 2 days, or you can treat yourself 7 days a week every year for the rest of your life. It's a difference. Once you done put your money into that basic living expenses, the basic necessities that you need are covered. Those last two places, the biggest whole life insurance policy you can afford. Why am I saying that? Because your health is your wealth. The healthier you are, the bigger the insurance policy you can get. That's just the truth, y'all. That whole life insurance policy, obviously, you're going to be putting money into it every single month. You're going to be getting compound interest on that money, tax free, that you can borrow against and pay yourself back with interest. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. The last thing, which is on the list, is land. Why land? Because they're not making no more, y'all. Plus, you make money when you buy land, not when you sell it. It's the only thing on this planet that only goes up in value and don't go up and down. So the only thing you're doing with your new mindset, instead of you spending your money on the BS that you've been spending your money on, now you're being very deliberate. You know the basic living expenses, you got to cover it. The other two things, you're getting a guaranteed return on your investment. When you go out and party with your friends, there's no return on your investment. There's never a return on your investment. It's not even a return on your energy. When you decide to do all this random stuff with your money, you're not getting anything back from it. With these other two things, this whole life insurance policy and this land, you're getting a guaranteed return on your investment. That's just what it is. I could be off. By you doing those three things over time, people, you can put yourself in a position to where you never have to work for anybody else for the rest of your life. I always tell people, had I started this process when I was at Bank of America with the way I was making money at the bank, probably within about 5 years of starting from scratch, within about 5 years, I could have retired from the bank in 5 years versus waiting 20 years. Because knowing what I understand right now, if I would have just been putting my money into basic living expenses, the biggest whole life insurance policy I can afford, and land, it would have been game over. Crazy soon. Once I figured that process out, I had already left the bank. It still didn't take me a long period of time because I had a bunch of capital. When you have capital, you can trade that capital in to speed up this process. When you don't have capital, you got to trade your time to get to where you need to go. So for those people that are going to ask me, is there a faster way? Yeah, if you got money. If you got capital, 100%. If you got enough capital, you can do it in 24 hours. And that's crazy. When I say do it in 24 hours, I mean at the very least start the process versus waiting it out. So let me paint a picture for people, right? So when I left the bank, my goal was to make my yearly salary in a month. When I made my yearly salary in a month, I retired from the bank, right? Because my thought process at that time when I left the bank was a lot different than what it is today. My thought process was if I make my yearly salary in a month, every month I can put away a year worth of living expenses and I won't have to worry about all these other things that are going to be coming my way. Only for me to start understanding if I put my money into these 3 different places, right? And I start living out these processes this way, I won't be in a position to where I would ever have to worry about my yearly salary no more every month. Because those numbers will begin to look like it'll look small to me. Let me say it that way. And it's going to look small to you. So we've done this process from people that's been on Section 8. And we've done it for people that make $8,000 a year, $16,000 a year, $30,000 a year. And we normally stay in those low numbers because I don't really want to exclude people. But the point that I'm going to make is no matter how much money you make enough. In fact, you're in a place of privilege. That's just the truth. So tonight we're going to do this from a place of that magical number that everybody claimed they make every single year, $100,000 a year. Every time I look at social media, somebody else bragging about, I make 6 figures a year. Congratulations, you're broke. Like, we get it. How is it possible that you're making 100 grand a year and you still trying to figure out how to get out of your rat race? It can't be that great, y'all. So if you're not at 100 grand a year and you think your target is 100 grand a year, I can tell you flat out, your target is too small. You got to think bigger, period. So we'll do it from 100 grand a year. The math on it, obviously, we done talked about it a million times on this platform. That's $11.41 an hour, and that's before taxes. The math breaks down is if you take your $100,000 a year that you make and you divide it by 8,760 hours in a year, you would get $11.41 an hour, and that's before taxes. That's just the truth, y'all. So being that that's $11.41 an hour and that's before taxes, the math ain't gonna math the way you want it to math when you start to be real about things. You got a rent that's, I'm lowballing this, $1,200 a month. It's gonna take you 200 hours to get that money. 200 hours of your time to get that money. Think about that for a second. So what are we doing? We're taking that 100,000 and we putting that 100 grand. Remember, when you get money, you put it into 3 places. So after taxes, you're looking at somewhere around about $65,000 a year. Math could be a little bit off. It ain't too dark outside yet. Almost. Might be dark, I don't know. So if I'm bringing home $65,000 a year, my money going to 3 places. Basic living expenses, the biggest whole life insurance policy I can afford, and land. Now, these numbers are going to be off because I ain't got my calculator in front of me. But let me just say this. 60% of your income that you bring home after tax need to be going to basic living expenses. 25% needs to be going into the biggest whole life insurance policy you can afford. And that last 15% needs to be going into land. I'm going to show you how it breaks down into numbers. And again, this is an example. You can plug and play however you need to plug and play. $40,000 of my $65,000 that I bring home after taxes is going into basic living expenses. Not a penny more, not a penny less. That's about $3,500 a year, somewhere around there. $3,500 a month. That's going into basic living expenses. $40,000 of the $65,000 that I bring home is going into basic living expenses. That's going to leave me with $25,000. Now, knowing that that's leaving me $25,000, I can already tell you, normally that $25,000 I've been blowing every single year on garbage. But knowing what I know now, and I got to be more deliberate, I got to be more specific on where my money is going. What does that mean? Out of that $25,000, 15 grand is going into the biggest whole life insurance policy I can afford. Why? Because my health is my wealth. The healthier you are, the bigger the insurance policy you can get. Hopefully y'all caught that. That's going to leave me with $10,000. With that 10 grand, I'm going to simply go in and get me 2 acres of land. 2. And before somebody say you can't even buy 1 acre land for $10,000, I know. That's why I said buy 2. You're not buying land in no major city, y'all. You don't own no land in no major city. You're buying your land at least 30 minutes out from the major city. Why? Because land is cheap out there, y'all. In every state across this country, you can buy land for $5,000 or less per acre on average. Hopefully y'all got that. So I'm gonna buy me 2 acres of land every year, 15 grand going into that whole life insurance policy, $40,000 going to basic living expenses. Now I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. That's not gonna change. I'm still gonna be living paycheck to paycheck, but I'm being more deliberate about where I'm putting my money. Watch this. If I do this process over the next 10 years, how is that gonna pan out? And 10 years is gonna fly by, y'all. And when I say fly by, it's going to fly by. In 10 years, I've been putting 15 grand into this policy. I've been getting 2 acres of land every year. In 10 years, I will own 20 acres of land. Notice I ain't said nothing about no loans. I ain't said nothing about no credit. I ain't said nothing about partnering with nobody. I will own 20 acres of land outright. And before people start asking me about these taxes, on an acre of land, 30 minutes out from the major city, you're going to spend anywhere from $50 to $100 a year for your property taxes. So let's go on the high end. If this costs you $200 a year, because there ain't nothing on this land, you haven't put nothing on this land, you just paying for it. It's going up in value because it's guaranteed to go up. But I'm spending that $200 a year, right? What would it cost me? $2,000 a year once I get to 20 acres? $4,000 a year? I'm not tripping off of that $4 grand, especially with what I'm about to do. So what does that mean? That means me owning 20 acres of land just changed my life, and I haven't even noticed it. It means I'm about to get out of my rat race forever. In 10 years, you will own 20 acres of land. No debt on that land, y'all. At least not yet. In 10 years, that insurance policy that I've been putting 15 grand a year into is getting compound interest tax-free. I will have the ability to borrow against the fully vested amount by that time, which will minimally be about $200,000. I'm paying that policy back with interest, y'all. I hope y'all caught that. So I got 20 acres of land that I own outright. I got 200 grand I'm about to borrow from this whole life insurance policy. What did you think is going to happen? I'm going to take that 200 grand. I'm going to take me a half an acre and I'm going to go build me a modern duplex. That's what I'm going to do. As a person that then built 29 homes out of his own pocket, I know whatever the value of the house is, it normally costs you half the amount to build it. So if I take that 200 grand and go build me a modern duplex, I'm getting me a property worth minimally 400 grand. Minimally. I can ask y'all the question. We done did this exercise 100 times, so y'all know what I'm gonna ask. If I have this modern duplex, gonna do what? Rent it out. Y'all tell me, how much is the rent on a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, new construction apartment costing you right now today? What's the rent? $2,000 easy. 3 grand, 4 grand, $1,500, $1,200. Rent is crazy out here right now, y'all. Let me ask the next question. How much you think the rent gonna be in 10 years? That's when you're gonna become a landlord in year 10. In 10 years from today, knowing what the rent is right now today, what is the rent gonna be in 10 years? Easily double. Easily double. The crazy part about this, y'all, it's gonna happen regardless if you're a part of it or not. 1,800 a day. So easily 3,600 in 10 years. Easily. And I know for a fact I'm lowball. I look right here in Georgia, 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. People paying easily 3 grand a month for a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath new construction apartment right now today. That's crazy. I'm almost certain it's gonna be double. Almost certain of that. So what does that mean? I'm gonna become a landlord. That ain't gonna get too egregious. I'm charging $25 a month on the left side and the right side. What the rent? What am I getting from the tenants? 5 grand a month. That's what I'm getting total off this duplex that ain't got no mortgage on it, y'all. Notice what I said. I took the money from my insurance policy to build this modern duplex, and now I'm getting 5 grand a month from it. If y'all ain't did the math on that real quick, that's about $60,000 a month. I mean, $6,000 a year. I hope y'all pick that up. Watch this though. The next step are gonna blow you. Because what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go to the bank and I'm gonna get a mortgage put on this property. The house worth minimally 400 grand. The bank's gonna look at you as an investor. The bank's gonna say that you're gonna have to put 20% down of this property. Good thing you got it all in equity. So that $80,000 on that 20% that you're leaving in the house, the bank gonna give you a mortgage of $320,000. Who's getting that $320,000? Ain't no mortgage on it. You getting the money. The bank gotta cut you a check for $320,000. You absolutely will. Not only is the bank give you that $320,000, it's tax free because it's a loan. The crazier part about this is you not paying it back. Your tenants is. So now I got $320,000 in his hand that I done got back from the bank, which means I done got my $200,000 back from the bank that it took me to build this property, plus an extra $120,000 on top of it. I hope y'all just picked up what I just put down. Let's say the mortgage is $2,500 a month. One of your tenants paying that. The other tenant on the other side, that other $2,500, guess what, boys and girls? It's not taxed right away. Why? You have to get what's called a return on your capital first. You know that $80,000 that you put down in equity? You don't see how your life changed? Now, I can tell you, As a person that went through this process, I can tell you flat out, it's surreal. It don't even make sense at first. And you really can't see the forest from the trees. You can't, because it's not making sense. Your business is gonna be doing what your business is doing by the end or whatever you got going, right? Now you making this money hand over fist. Or if you're not and you're still working your job and you're about to leave, you're gonna get into a weird space because you got $320,000 in this hand, and you ain't never had that type of money before in your life at one time, and you get an extra $2,500 a month over this side. What you think gonna happen at this point? If you have been following the process and you've been disciplined, remember you got 9.5 more acres left. You only gonna do this 35 more times. So wait, if every time I do this, it's gonna cost me 200 grand to build, I'm gonna get 320 back, which is my 200 back, which means I'm gonna get an extra $120,000 every time I do this. $120,000 times 40, because you're doing it 40 times, is $4.8 million tax free. What job you got making this type of money? What business you got making this type of money? I'm listening. I'm waiting. Every time I ask this question, no one seems to answer. Even all the way up to my big dog business owners right now. They ain't making this type of money tax free. It ain't happening. That's just what it is. It's a scary thought. 100% is cheaper if you're already a builder. 100%. $4.8 million in this hand, y'all. Tax free. Notice where we started from. I ain't said nothing about your credit. I ain't saying nothing about partnering with nobody. What's up, family? I ain't said you need to be at none of these galas or meetings or nothing. I ain't said nothing about who you know or what you know. We started from exactly where you at. I ain't saying nothing about you had to have a whole bunch of money. You didn't have to click no link in the bio to buy no course to get that information. It's just free. I can guarantee you, your gurus ain't teaching you this. I can guarantee you, your coach ain't giving you this type of information. Why? They don't know. Because if they did, they'll be doing it for themselves. They'll be doing it for themselves. Think about what I just said. What about your credit when you refinance? Well, let's see. It took you 10 years to do this process. Anything that was bad on your credit, including a bankruptcy, has fell off. It's gone. It's been 10 years. You've been disciplined. You haven't went out and made more debt. You've been very disciplined in what you're doing. It's gone. Think about what I just said. You didn't hear me talk about paying down all of your debt. You want to, sure. But if it's already charged off, get it off your credit. This stuff ain't complicated, y'all. I did appreciate you. Let's take it a step further, y'all. Let's take it a step further. Because I did leave off something. We talked about that $4.8 million tax free that you just got from doing this process 40 times. There you go, family. That $2,500 that you were getting on that other side that ain't taxed out the gate until you get that return on your capital first, you also getting that 40 times as well, boys and girls. That's an extra 100 grand a month on top of the 4.8. You went from making a grand a year to making 100 grand a month on top of 0.8. Tell me again what job y'all got making this type of money. What businesses you got making this type of money? I'm listening. When me and my wife we was up talking to our CPA, was so funny because he was like, "Man, the stuff that y'all doing is unreal." Because I deal with people that got money, and I deal with wealthy folks all the time. I've never seen this before in my life. So we never seen this before in your life. Not like I ain't never seen it before, but y'all so young, y'all got your head on straight, and y'all are executing at a level that I just ain't seen before. We ain't. You know how people like they be bragging about how much money they got. We ain't got no money, y'all. But I guess if you ain't got no money, you ain't got no bills. How do you start the process? You must have just walked in because that's what I just explained. The replays will automatically be on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as soon as I end this live at Zabel103 on all platforms. On Facebook, Zabian Gibson. So you'll be able to review the whole thing. I know to keep asking me about that too. Like, hey, you started a new page? Look, y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all this, and I'm gonna try to be clear to all my new people. The platforms that you seeing me live on right now are the only platforms that I have. I ain't starting no new page. I ain't DMing you, telling you I got a new program says I want you to buy. I just don't want you. When those people DM you, tell them to go live. Tell them. Say, go live right now. Go live. I'm a live with you. Then you can go live right now. I want to see. I don't get bent out of shape out of that stuff. It's flattering, right? Because it tells me that maybe I'm doing something right. Maybe. Because when people take the time out to start thanking you, maybe you're doing something right, I guess. I don't know how beneficial I can be for making a fake page of me, right? Because I'm not charging people money for anything because I believe information is free. It's different when you have these, I'm gonna call these people gurus that's out here courses and they can finagle money out of you. Y'all information free. So by me giving the information to you for when someone fakes a page of me, I laugh at it because I'm saying you just wasted your time because you ain't getting paid from it. The people that follow me and they understand what I talk about, they know I'm not charging them for nothing. It's a wild situation, y'all. Plus, all my stuff is trademark and all the other stuff, even down to the logo you see. If I wanted to start striking these pages, I could. If I wanted to be petty, I don't, because at some point you got to realize these individuals, especially if you're on my live right now, there's nobody on this planet better than being you than you. California properties, I don't know a lot about them, but this is all thing. It's all the same thing. You buy land anywhere with whatever state you're in, it don't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So, I know yesterday I couldn't get on because I had to go to a closing yesterday. and I wasn't able to go live at the closing like I wanted to because didn't want to be recorded, and it was I don't know, it was different. So I was just like, all right, whatever. But I wanted to pop on here today because what I've said I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna take y'all. I want to call this a series, but I'm gonna start taking y'all down this path versus me being on live for 3-4 hours chopping it up. Be very deliberate about what we're talking about and kind of just take y'all down a path of the things I did. And you can see how you can duplicate those things. If you need my advice on something, you're probably best to ask you on the live and I can just share it because it might help somebody else too. I can be honest with you when I say this, probably not going to respond to your DM. And the only reason why I'm saying it like that is because let me say it this way. I only work for my last name and not my first. Your most valuable time you have is your time. It's more valuable than money. And I don't trade time for money. I trade money for time. When I get on these live platforms, a lot of times, especially since we've been doing this now for the last 86 weeks for free, a lot of people ask me the same question all the time. Well, what's in it for you? And I can't be able to be honest, right? This is a use situation. Y'all continue to use me for the free information. I'm not going to let y'all misuse me, and I'm not going to misuse y'all, right? So y'all use me for this free information, and I use y'all to show y'all my pretty clothes and my pretty shoes. Why? Because Zabo 103 is also one of my businesses. And even though I'm not getting paid on none of these platforms, business expense, business expense, business expense, business expense, business expense. I don't know. Let's keep going. Business expense. I can keep going. This is all a win-win situation for you and for me. I believe information is free. So guess what I do? I get on here because my wife won't stop buying all these pretty clothes and these pretty shoes. And being that 4103 is one of my businesses, marketing is real, right? What am I marketing? Information. Information. How much does the attention cost me? Today, right now, within this last 45 minutes that I've been on the live, almost a little bit over an hour now that I've been on this live, in 1 hour, attention cost me, it cost me right at about $4,000. And it didn't cost me that, $4,000. It became a $4,000 business expense within the last 45 minutes. Y'all got it for free. It just generated me $4,500 in a business expense on this particular live. Think. If you're buying a home, get an agent, get a broker. It doesn't matter. Somebody that actually is in real estate. If you're going to buy a home, I just go buy a home. I don't necessarily buy homes. I buy land. That's what I do. That's what I do. So it's pretty interesting. Let me just see if I can do this real quick. Hold on a second, people. Because my number has decreased now, and I'll show you. All right, y'all. As of today, I own. This number sounds bad now. It ain't really bad. It's a good thing. It's a blessing. But as of today, I own 242 acres of land right now today. As of today, I own 242 acres of land. Yesterday, well, day before yesterday, I owned 1,399 acres of land. But we went to a closing, well, I did, yesterday and got rid of the 1,157 acres of hunting land that we own. It was a short-term deal. They gave me a 35% return on my investment in 3 months. Think. If you've been following along on my lives, everyone heard me say, I don't know much about hunting land, but I got presented with something that I couldn't turn away from. 1,157 acres that we purchased back in March, cash. Short-term deal with a buyer already in place. They just needed to get everything situated and they didn't want the property to go off the market. So they asked me, hey, if you can purchase this for me, I'll get it back from you within a year. Whatever you want to charge me, I'll pay. Think. Now, as I was looking at this process with this hunting land, it opened my eyes to a whole bunch of stuff because I still don't know a whole lot about it. But I was like, man, they making bread off of this hunting stuff, y'all. They making bread off of this hunting land. And when I say making bread, it was crazy wild. I've never seen that like that before in my life. They had all type of stuff up in there. Cabins. It was booming. And I was just like, I'm just here to learn and make my 35%. Is it a first home buyer? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that is. You're talking about like buying a home with the mortgage and doing all that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. That was 1,157 acres. So as of today, I'm at 242 and a half. I need to call it a half. 242 and a half acres of land. That made me realize, y'all, I got to get into this hunting game. I got to get into it. I ain't really got a choice. Well, that's bigger than a small town. You only need 50 acres to have a city. Check out the smallest city in America. Check out Miss E up in the tax lien family. Remember, y'all, a lot of times, and I know it's mind blowing to some people because what most people do is they do this bait and switch things, right? Where they take people down this path, right? Zabo103 on Instagram, Zabo103 on YouTube, Xavier Gibson on Facebook. All the replays will be there. But they go down this path of all these different things that they can get into. Nobody really talks about the stuff that can really change your life. And I'm going to tell y'all, and I told this story before, being at Bank of America for 20 years as an executive without a college degree,